the virtue signalling Betfred Women's Challenge Cup had some close ties in it. Apart from Leeds, who finding themselves at home at the Mobile Rocket Stadium, beating Bradford 70 points to 0. And they're there again on Sunday, Phil. It's a double header Wakefield versus Leeds this weekend. I'll take one win. I'll take one win out of two.
I hadn't realised that the women's games had moved to Wakefield from Wheatwood. Well,
I hadn't until a couple of weeks ago. But I did ask, and they're there again this week, so I'll be there on Sunday. So post-match stuff coming up, and I might do because there's like 2 hours between games, and I don't think there's going to be many media there, as opposed to last week when I could speak to Tom Maguire. I might just do a live thing. So if you're around on Sunday afternoon on Facebook or YouTube, I'll do a live stream and we can have a chat on there. St Helens beat Fev 44-10. It's obviously Featherstone improved from the week before, which is good to see. Andrea Dobson back in the team as well and scoring. Fev play York this week, who pulled off the upset. Now, I was recording a bit about rugby league for a betting podcast, and I tipped York to cover the handicap against Wigan, and I recorded that on Wednesday. And then they signed 5 players from Castleford, so I didn't expect them to win necessarily, but they did. Bookmakers won't be happy. 30 points to 24. They, from what I've seen of the highlights, they slotted into that team very well. To say they only signed a couple of days before to beat a good Wigan team.
I watched the game on the Sportsman website, and I have to say, probably the game of the weekend in terms of skill, in terms of excitement, in terms of backstory. 7 new players, 2 from Bradford as well, we shouldn't forget, as well as the 5 top liners from Castleford. 1 training session. Clearly, Lindsay Anfield is there. The Cass girls know how Lindsay wants them to play. And every single one of those that came in made a huge difference. I think there's only one real question to be asked. And our correspondent and friend of the show, Danica Preem, in her column in this month's Forty20, does indeed ask that question. Oh. And that is, are you robbing Peter to pay Paul, or should that be
Petra to pay Paula?
Petra to pay Paula. Excellent, brilliant, well done. Remember that one. Because if you're denuding Castleford to build York, the women's game isn't necessarily taking a development step forward. If Castleford have enough young players to come in and keep them at the level they were at, brilliant. We've got another team that's going to be competitive, and we've gone from 4 teams of a certain level to 5, which is what the game wants. I think we need to see that play out. But to go back to a point you made earlier about the men's draw, we have now got the absolute perfect women's semi-final draw with York playing Castleford. And again, we have got time to build this up into the new modern women's rivalry. Let's let them get at it. Take the shackles off, say some stuff that is going to build this up, put it out again on free to view on YouTube or the Sportsman. And I reckon you will have so much interest in this game that it'll match the Darrell Powell derby in the men.
I mean, we don't know where the final is yet, do we? Because that's we will know. Yet.
We will know the semi-final details probably tomorrow,
which is good because I'm keeping my diary free-ish because I've got kind of commitments on a Saturday, but I'd love to be at the final if I'm allowed to be there. I am there on Sunday, and after Wakefield beat Leeds, obviously, it's York versus Fev. So I will try and badger the York people to say we ate Cass. They smell, but I don't think they will do because they're all coming.
And that's why we left. Yeah,
they're all coming out and saying, "Oh, there's nothing. It's just opportunity."
No, I don't think they would say anything to the detriment of the team that they've been at. But what we want them to say is, don't love them anymore. We want to knock them off their stride, and we want to get to the Challenge Cup final. If they stand in our way, get out of our way. And I do have to say that the skill of Rhiannon Marshall to set up the first try is as good as anything I've seen this weekend. And what was great was there's no comparison that you need to make to the men's game. Just enjoy it for what it is. Whilst we talked a lot about what may or may not be missing in the men's game at the moment, in that it looks a little bit one-dimensional, the women's game has got everything. I think if you are just a supporter of the best that this sport can offer in terms of skill, commitment, physicality, that women's game had more of it this weekend than anything I saw in the men's game.
I think I've said before, I don't think there's a 13 like her in the men's game.
Or even a 22.
I know you said don't make comparisons, but I don't think there's a 13 like her. Yeah. Grace Field, hat-trick. She's in the World Cup Team of the Week, which will, I know, doubt by all the urine of some people, which is hilarious. If anyone pays attention to these things and gets upset about them, I don't know why, but there you go. I'll tell you what was a bit annoying in the week. On Cass beat Warrington 26-6, I didn't mention that. So Cass obviously having lost those players, the players who they had did step up. And lovely footwork from Georgia Roach on one of the tries as well. One of the comments from Bradford ahead of the game against Leeds about playing elite teams, having been battered by Saints in week 1. If you're in the Super League, you're either elite or you're not.
Well, the whole of women's sport at that level has been brought back because the government have acknowledged it is an elite sport. So,
and I think
protocol. So don't say we're not elite, because not only are you saying we're not elite rather than the sport isn't elite, but if I'm in the treasury, I'm going, why are we giving X million pounds from National Lottery to support the elite return of sport if one of the clubs is saying, but we're not elite? Dangerous road.
I think the players who took exception to that comment were right to do so, because it not only it diminishes your own team when you say that, but it diminishes the
competition. It undermines the competition, yeah.
And as we say, York versus Cass, great story ahead of that one. And what a great story Saints Leeds is as well, because twice in 2019, Saints so close to beating Leeds, but Leeds being Leeds, they do Leeds things, they get through, they win both finals. And as Faye Gaskin told us on this programme last year, if it weren't for a wedding, they would have won the Challenge Cup. They would have been there and won the Challenge Cup at Bolton, but she wasn't there and they didn't.
Well, we needed to reiterate that before this semi-final to a wider audience and build up that rivalry.
I'll dig the clip out again. But yeah, that will be another good game, because they're two good teams, and it'd be good we won't get to see them play against each other too much with the way the league's structured. So to see them at this stage of the season will be very good.
And again, we have to say that having the women's final on BBC Two is a massive step up for the sport. I also think that we are almost following the road that women's soccer has taken, that they have emerged into a Super League where there is a clear disparity between some teams and others that have more resource. But when they were starting out, a lot of stuff was put out almost free to air or please watch us. On the back of that, they got sponsorship from people like Barclays. They've now got an £8 million television deal, which is split between the BBC and Sky. We're going to have one of our two prestigious occasions on the BBC, live on BBC Two at 11 o'clock, leading into two men's semi-finals. And whoever plays in the women's Challenge Cup semi-final, it's going to be a tremendous game. You know, if York get there, it's the story of how they've now recruited their team. If Castleford get there, it's they overcame York to get there and they're the bridesmaids. If St Helens get there, that's because they've beaten Leeds and turned around the two narrow defeats they've had in that competition in previous years, and they're the team to watch this year with so many likely England players. If Leeds beat St Helens and gets to the final, is it going to be a three-peat? And what is it Leeds have got? Whoever is in that Women's Challenge Cup final, that is a massive story to be played out on BBC Two. And this is the area of the game, and we say it every week, and I make no apology for it. This can drag the men's game with it.
It's testament to the hard work and the effort of the players and of those at the RFL who have backed this. Because if you think about this, 4 years ago, the final was played somewhere in York. 3 years ago, it was a standalone event in Warrington. We were there. Not many other people were there, but it was on the BBC website. 2 years ago, it was on the red button at Bolton, proper TV coverage just on the red button. And now it's on actual television. And that's quite impressive. That is quite impressive. And people, everyone who's involved and has been involved from day one should be very proud of their achievements in what they've done, because it's not easy to get stuff on TV. It's on one of the main BBC
mainstream
channels.
TV, mainstream.
Women's
and
Rugby League.
you pointed it out quite apt and appropriately. Celebrating David Attenborough's birthday, who brought us the BBC Two Floodlit Trophy, and here we are. What is it? That was late 60s, early 70s. Yeah. So here we are, almost 50 years down the line, doing exactly the same thing with the women's game. I hope clearly it doesn't go defunct like the Floodlit Trophy did, but there is something innately appropriate that while we celebrate his birthday, and as the commissioner of BBC Two, he set a ball rolling that now the women will be appearing, and it's fantastic. And reading some of the quotes of the 6 teams that are going to form the Super League South, which we briefly mentioned on the show last week, it's an amazing opportunity. London Broncos had their first talent day this weekend for women and girls that wanted to try out for the team that's going to be in Super League South. I think they were knocked out by the numbers that turned up, and the Cornish Rebels are saying we have had some girls come through a school program. We haven't really been able to offer them anything. To now have a Super League team down here, this is massive. And there's a stadium coming on stream down there. They're going to be able to play out of, all being well. The bridges that are being built in the women's game are something that, I think, again, Danica mentions it in her column. Are they exceeding the men's game at the moment with the number of teams they've got playing in Super League and the geographical spread that is now represented under the banner of Super League? And the answer is yes to both of those.
And it's not hard to see the clubs where they're putting in resource other than, I'm trying to think of the word to explain this. So I don't want to denigrate the hard work of people, because that's very important, but that can only get you so far and people can only do so much. But there's the extras on top of that. And you can see the clubs that are doing the extras on top. And we've seen that with Leeds, obviously, from day one. The clubs that are doing that are the ones who are going to get the rewards going forward.
And it all,
maybe that's the lesson for all the other clubs. And you know, I look at the Super League now, and it's very West Yorkshire heavy. And I look and I don't know why, but we're told East Yorkshire's this hotbed of rugby league. Why are there 2 teams there in the champ? Where's the team from East Yorkshire in the Super League then? Where's the Hull KR in Super League? Because we've got a Huddersfield.
Again, we've got, if you're talking about blueprints for how the sport moves forward, is there a case for saying a women's centre of excellence that represents the whole rather than a club as currently exists? We need to look at all that stuff. It all has to be integrated, otherwise it doesn't work. I think the other thing that is right as well is that what we need to view it as is development, because the whole of the women's game is at the very beginning of a process. But the blueprint that they're working to at the RFL, and there are some people there who deserve enormous credit who have steered this through relatively choppy waters. They have had this idea of an integrated competition involving a championship into a Super League for the last 3 or 4 years, and they're following that blueprint, and they're not allowing the odd result setback along the way to derail them from what is a really good rollout plan. And it's leading into a World Cup, which is not to say England may win it. It could well be that the Gillaroos and the Kiwi Ferns still are at a level of almost professionalism that will mean that the teams they bring over deserve to be viewed in a slightly different aspect to some of the sides that they'll be facing. But I'm not sure we could be doing a lot more at the moment to get our women up to that level. And I for one, cannot wait for the Women's World Cup. And I think that the BBC can see the potential in that as well. And that's why we've got the Challenge Cup final on the BBC this year.
There was something else I was going to say, and I can't for the life of me remember what it was, so it can't have been that. Oh, yes, congratulations to Danica Ross, who's also known player name 0 for her try at the weekend. So well done to her for that. Hopefully she doesn't score on Sunday. Warrington take on St Helens. Wakefield versus Leeds, the game on Twitch. Away from the stand, you. Bradford, Huddersfield, and Featherstone, York kick off at 3:30 in the other two games.
Well, you'll be there on Sunday, and a contact may be made. All being well, I will be at a game on Monday that has a crowd. And not only can we all not wait for that to happen, but it would be great to gauge the reaction of people. So I think we'll try and do that, certainly in a written source, but maybe we can link up on Monday as well and talk about what it's like to hear, get them on side, photo